It's pumpkin season, and most people like desserts made with this golden vegetable. In this video, I'll show you how to make healthy, plant-based and low glycemic pumpkin desserts that you'll love. Furthermore, I will also talk about dates. Is it a low or high glycemic fruit? Is it okay to use dates, date-based or date sugar as a sweetener when you're struggling with blood sugar fluctuations and/or Candida overgrowth? Stay tuned. We'll start with those pumpkin chocolate chip cookies that are extra fibrous and super satiating. By the way, I'll give you the glycemic load points per serving at the end of every recipe. We'll continue with this silky smooth pumpkin cheesecake that you can make with or without crust. I prefer without, makes it easier as well. By the way, it's also relatively low in fats for a cheesecake anyway, with only 30% of calories from fat. And we'll finish with this light and lean gluten-free pumpkin pie made of whole food plant-based ingredients. Okay, let's get those chocolate chip cookies baking. The secret extra fibrous ingredient is oat bran. Then we'll also use jumbo oats, erythritol, ginger, cinnamon, turmeric and Himalayan salt, and finally peanut butter and pumpkin puree. Start by mixing peanut butter with pumpkin puree. Add the puree to peanut butter gradually to get a smooth mixture, bit by bit, until all the puree is used up. You can also use a blender or an immersion blender. Now add erythritol and dissolve it into this yummy paste. You may use any preferred sweetener like xylitol, date sugar or coconut sugar. A side note, as I have a trained palate, my recipes are never overly sweet. Depending on where you're at with your relationship with sweet taste, adjust accordingly. Time to combine all the dry ingredients in a large bowl. So, in go oat bran, jumbo oats, ginger, cinnamon, turmeric and Himalayan salt. Next is as simple as mixing the wet and dry ingredients. I find that a spatula does the best job. When it's all well combined, add the chocolate chips and fold those in as well. I used xylitol sweetened chips, but you may opt for any dark chocolate chips or drops, or you can even use chopped chocolate or cacao paste. Divide the batter into 10 parts and, with your hands, form round-shaped cookies and place them on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Here's how I shape the cookies. First, I make a ball between my palms, then press it flat and, using my index finger and thumb, shape it into an almost perfect circle. I find it easiest to place the bowl onto kitchen scale and scoop out about 55 grams of batter for every cookie. Bake them at 175 Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit for 18 minutes and let cool before eating. Those cookies are so chewy and fibrous that a single cookie can fill you up. In fact, one cookie contains nearly 4 grams of fiber and about 6.6 glycemic load points. Considering the theory that a meal shouldn't exceed 20 points, you could easily enjoy 3 cookies at your snack time. And now it's time for pumpkin cheesecake. I've made it for Christmas gatherings a couple of times and everyone loved it. If you want to make a version with crust, check out this video. We'll use pumpkin puree, silken tofu, erythritol and almond butter, mesquite and psyllium powder, buckwheat flour, and finally cinnamon, turmeric and Himalayan salt. It's as easy as blending all the ingredients in a beaker or use a regular blender. To ease the processing, add buckwheat flour, mesquite and psyllium towards the end though. Again, feel free to adjust the sweetness. Remember that baking process eats up some of the sweet taste. Also, any additive-free nut butter will do instead of almond butter. By the way, the pumpkin purees I'm using are homemade. Simply cut a Hokkaido pumpkin, also known as pie pumpkin, in half, scoop out the seeds, and place the ears face down on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. and bake at 200 degrees Celsius or 390 Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes until tender. Then let it cool, remove the skin, and blend with some water into puree. Depending on the size of your pumpkin, you'll need to add about 2 cups of water to be able to process it. Here we go! Now pour everything into a small 11 cm 4-inch spring-form cake tin. I suggest lining the bottom of the tin with parchment paper and rubbing the sides with a tiny amount of coconut or avocado oil. Shake a bit to spread the batter evenly and smooth the surface with a spoon or a spatula. Bake the cake at 175 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit for 50 minutes. Let cool completely before getting the cake out of the tin. It's the best to use a round-tip knife to separate the sides and then simply lift up the round piece. You may garnish it with some extra cinnamon. All the chocolate lovers can go for my healthy chocolate frosting, but my new discovery is this slightly sour raspberry jam. I simply thawed some raspberries, mashed them up with a fork, added some erythritol for sweetness, and ground chia seeds for thickness. As far as the glycemic load is concerned, this cake falls into super low. You could almost eat the entire thing with its 21 points. However, if you divide the cake into 6 pieces, then one piece comes with 3.5 points. And finally, let's make this super healthy and yummy pumpkin pie. It is made of cubed and steamed butternut squash, oat sour milk, that is milk mixed with apple cider vinegar, medjool dates, almond butter, and oat flour, buckwheat flour, poppy seeds, cinnamon, ginger, turmeric, and baking powder. Now, wait a minute. Dates? But this is supposed to be a low glycemic pumpkin dessert? You know what? I used to be afraid of dates ever since I started my Candida healing journey in 2016. Even when I'd been living Candida-free for years, I'd avoid them, thinking they'd certainly cause a flare-up. But I was misinformed. I dug into research, and as it turns out, dates can be anything from low to high glycemic. In a study from 2016, that I'll also link below, 17 varieties of dates were tested on 19 people, and the glycemic load of a portion of 3 dates ranged from 8.5 to 24. Remember, a glycemic load of 10 and below is considered low, 11 to 19 is medium, and 20 and above is considered high. The medjool dates that I'm using in this recipe are medium with glycemic load of 17.2. In case you're wondering, the varieties with the lowest glycemic load are, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing them correctly, but 𝐀𝐟𝐼𝐥𝐢𝐚𝐿 and 𝐀𝐿. Those indeed are considered low glycemic with a load below 10. The ones that fall into high glycemic category are 𝐀𝐿𝐼𝐥𝐢𝐚𝐭𝐞 and 𝐴𝐻𝐼𝐴. And the rest have medium glycemic load, ranging from 11.7 to 17.2. If you are interested in more details, go and check out the study paper. And indeed, over the past few months, I've been using it all: dates, date sugar, as well as date paste. Of course, you need to remember that it's all about quantities as well. Those numbers were given for a portion of 3 dates. So, if you want to eat an entire box or a whole pie, it can negatively affect your blood sugar. And another study from 2020 found that the antioxidants in dates support healthy insulin sensitivity and blood glucose control. Now moving on to the recipe. First, let's make the wet mixture by blending the pumpkin, dates, nut butter, and oat sour milk. To prepare the pumpkin, simply steam the cubes for 10 minutes. This is what you are looking for. Now, in a large bowl, combine the dry ingredients. Then pour in the wet mixture and combine well until you have a homogeneous batter. It's supposed to be quite moist. Line a baking dish with parchment paper, I used a ceramic 23 by 23 by 6 centimeters dish. Alternatively, grease it with some oil. Pour the pie batter into the dish and spread it out evenly using a spoon or a spatula. Bake at 175 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit for 35 minutes and let cool completely before attempting to slice it. I made it into 9 pieces. I know, not very even ones. I'm sure you can do a better job. Again, the raspberry jam comes in handy. However, I also like it with my lemon custard or simply with homemade applesauce and some plain yogurt. If cutting the pie into 9 pieces, one serving will have the glycemic load of 13. Should you want to decrease it even further, use lower glycemic dates or replace some of them with erythritol. I hope you enjoyed the recipes and learned something useful as well. Let me know what's your favorite pumpkin dessert.